And it was not a pretty day. I'm just gonna go right now. It was not pretty. As I posted, it was sad, very sad performance. I've got some notes. I want to get into the stats, and I want to pointed out some numbers that I want to go into when I get to the stats and talk about the numbers and how that game played out. I don't know what it was about that game, but after the first 4 minutes, it kind of was like a funk just hit over that game. Like somebody opened up some Limburger cheese in the building, and people just couldn't take it, and it just affected the way that game, and it just flat out stunk as far as the Sixers from that point on.
Right.
I had a lot of questions about the way that game was coached, the way that game was managed, the way the game was played out. I mentioned to some people, first and foremost, Joel Embiid scores our first 9 points on and ones, 3 and ones around the basket, in the paint. After almost a week of, or a few days of,
injury.
We don't know if he's going to play. He's going to be a game time decision. The decision is his to decide if he wants to play. Now he's doubtful. Now we're going to wait till game time again. He ended up playing. Okay, it's the playoffs. One of the numbers I looked at, and we'll get to that, like I said, when we get into it in depth, he played 24 minutes in that game.
Right.
It's not enough. If he tells you he's ready to play, he's got to play. I mean, you played on Saturday, so you got a full day of rest. You don't play until Monday night. So he has time to rest. It's a playoff game to a team that gives you problems. A team that can bite you in the butt, if you will. So you have to know this, playing this team 4 times a season, going in. You've got to know this. So you've got to give JoJo those minutes, and you just need to have him do walkthroughs at practice, do extra film work on Sunday and early Monday, and so he'll be ready to play again on Monday. But these are the playoffs, and as we know, your bench gets shorter, the bench shrinks. But he's our foundation. He's our star, our number one star, the leader on this team. So he has to play more than 24 minutes.
Absolutely.
I think. I also don't understand why you went away from that. And I'm not saying that you have to dump the ball to him every time down the court and expect him to get an and one, or expect him to get you a bucket every trip down the court. But what you have to understand is that's what's working for you. You have to understand they have the guard play that's going to kill us, that's going to work us out. Okay, I admit that. But they don't have the tools or the equipment, if you will, whatever word you want to use, on the inside. Jared Allen had 3 fouls in the first 4 or 5 minutes. Their backup to him is Kurucs.
Really?
Then you put Ed Davis on him. None of these dudes can do anything with Joel Embiid.
No.
He showed you that from the gate going in.
Yes.
So I appreciate the fact that you went right to him going in because of all the talk about him maybe playing and maybe not playing.
Right.
But you got to feed that horse until they stop it.
Milk that cow.
And they can't stop it, but you got to feed it through him because now what you do is now you get these guards to doing more throughout the course of the game. I'm talking about the Nets. You see I'm talking about the Nets. Now you get those guards playing more defense now on the end, on the other end, because now you have to watch JoJo. The ball's going there, you know it, but now that opens up more for the wing players of the Sixers on the offense to put some pressure on those guards and wing players of the New Jersey Nets.
Yes.
So, with that being said, there are a lot of, I think, changes that need to be made, possibly. I also think that the Sixers will still win the series. Initially, I thought 5. Now I'm thinking 6, possibly even 7 now because of Saturday. They just flat out laid an egg Saturday. And there's no other way to explain it. Like I said, when we move on further, I'll get into some detail once I give you the numbers and the other things. And I just have to say that the rotations of Brett Brown are starting to really, really get under my skin.
His coaching is questionable now, right?
You can't, like, you know what you have on your roster.
Right.
Anytime you go into a run and one of your players has to physically take over the game on his own, red flag for me as far as what's going on with the coaches and the players.
Mm-hmm.
The red flag for me there, because that shouldn't be the case. The coach is supposed to be able to get these guys into rhythms, get these guys shots. The coach is supposed to say, look, Jimmy, I need you. It's your time.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll go do it. He shouldn't have to take it upon himself, get frustrated, get a little angry,
mm-hmm.
and go out there and do it. And then you go away from it a little bit. So there's another problem, another red flag that I have with that situation. So you have the tools to beat this team. Although you do struggle with them. I get that. But you have the tools to beat this team and really, literally beat them, not just squeak by. You now have the tools to beat them. But you've got to utilize those tools. If you don't utilize them, then, things like Saturday happen. To move on, you want to talk about JJ. I love what JJ gives us as far as a three-point shooter. But I've said time and time again that he's somewhat of a defensive liability. Ennis is hurt, which is hurting us now. But you have other people that you can put out there. JJ Redick's in a slump. He had a horrible shooting night Saturday night.
He gonna come out.
So just to start off, before I go into the rest of these numbers, since I'm on JJ,
right?
He fouled out.
Oh, that's not
as
good.
a matter of fact.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
So that means that he wasn't playing defense with his feet.
Right.
Okay. He ended up with 5 points.
What?
1 rebound. He shot 2 for 7 from the floor.
Right.
1 for 4 from 3-point lane.
Get to the line.
He shot no free throws.
Oh, it's not good.
In 22 minutes.
That's not him.
Fouled out in 22 minutes.
Yeah. He hit threes and get to the line.
At some point, he shot 2 of 7.
Yeah,
and he was in foul trouble very early in pretty much the entire portion of the game. Gotta sit him.
It's not good.
You gotta sit him. I understand what he gives you, but you have to sit him. I also think that Saturday is somewhat of a bad example, but I think overall and in general, they're allowed to shoot too many threes. And I understand the 3-point shot is part of the game now, but I think the Sixers at times get carried away with shooting the 3. And it hurts them when they're not clicking.
They fall in love with the 3.
I also think that Brett Brown, you got arguably the best starting 5 in the playoffs right now. Arguably. You need to let them play like it. So, just looking at the minutes of the starting 5, Jimmy Butler had 38 minutes. Tobias Harris played 24. Joel Embiid played 24. Ben Simmons played 32. JJ Redick played 22. Jimmy Butler, I'm fine, 38 minutes. I'm fine with Jimmy Butler. Tobias Harris, I'm not fine. 24 minutes.
You need more minutes.
4 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. So he did try. He had 7 rebounds and 6 assists. But he only shot 4 for 9 from the floor.
He needs more minutes.
0-2 from the 3-point line. He needs more shots.
Yeah, right.
24 minutes is arguably okay, but he needs more shots. There's no way he's another one of your scorers. There's no way
it's the right. Yeah.
He should only have had 4 shots. I think it's incumbent on the coach to get shots for his guys. JJ was off, so you still got Embiid, Harris, and Butler. You've got to get shots for these guys. Although they can create their own. Those two.
Right.
You have to get shots for them. Jimmy Butler took it upon himself to try and take that game over.
And he can.
Due to coaching and JJ being in foul trouble, it didn't work out the way he
Right.
foresaw it. Didn't work out the way the fans foresaw it when he started his run. He ended up with his career playoff high, 36 points. 11 to 22 from the free throw line, field goal from the floor, 50%. 1 to 3 from 3-point line, not too bad. 13 to 15 from the free throw line in 38 minutes. Nothing wrong with that stat line. With that stat line, it's the best stat line on the Sixers. It's the best. 13 to 15 free throws. 11 to 22 from the floor.
Right.
That means he was working. He was doing everything in his power to get buckets. Stayed away from the three. He only shot three-pointers.
Right.
So he knew what to do.
Right.
I've got to go to the bucket. I've got to get conventional three-pointers, or I just got to get buckets.
Get to the line. Yeah.
Joel Embiid, not too bad. 22 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists, 24 minutes.
He gonna give you rebounds.
He needs more minutes. He's going to give you. He can give you 22 and 15 with his eyes closed.
In his sleep. That's what he do.
He's got to get more. JoJo needs to be in that 35, 36 minutes
Right.
a night.
Yeah. Right.
5 of 15 from the floor.
Right.
0 of 5 from 3-point line. 12 of 18 from the free throw line. So it tells you that he was getting fouled. He shot 18
They can't
free
guard
throws.
him. They can't guard him.
But the point is, he shot 18 free throws. He missed 6.
Yeah, that's not him. He usually makes
Okay.
it. Yeah.
He shot 5 of 15 from the floor.
Oof.
Bad shooting night for him,
Yeah.
but he needs those minutes. He needs to get those reps. I think if he gets more minutes, he gets more
He'll be
reps,
fine.
more of those shots from the floor fall,
We're going.
and he'll get a better percentage from the free throw line. Ben Simmons, who they made into a point guard, which I hated from the day I heard it. 9 points, 7 rebounds, 3
Right.
assists.
Right.
4 for 9 from the floor. No 3-pointers. 1 for 5 from the free throw line in 32 minutes.
He need to improve the free.
Those
throw.
numbers should have been flopped. JoJo should have played the 32. Ben should have played the 24
And he should know that. He's
with the numbers.
He's the coach.
with the numbers that they had. Okay. I think the players are going to take it upon themselves to come out with a chip on their shoulder
Oh yeah. Blowout.
and try and run these guys out of the gym
It's gonna be a blowout.
immediately.
Tonight.
I think they need to do it to save face.
Send a
They
message.
can't go to Jersey 0-2.
No.
I mean to Brooklyn 0-2.
It's gonna be a problem.
You also have to set the tone. You have to send a message to this team. Y'all got one.
Okay.
Y'all got the one on the road. As Pat Riley used to say,
Split.
the playoff series doesn't start until somebody wins on the road.
Right. It's just
It's a
started.
playoff series now.
Just started.
You got it. You got your one on the road.
Yeah.
But we not going to lay down and die. We not going to lay down and fold.
Right.
So the bench has to get better.
Right.
And getting into what I've been saying for the past 2 years, the Sixers need a point guard.
Right.
And shout out to my uncle Skip for chiming in on Facebook and agreeing with me. Shout out to my father-in-law, Mr. Diggs, Tommy Pop, for chiming in, also agreeing. And there's a lot of other people who probably agree, who don't, or maybe won't agree.
Smell like Chris Paul.
But not so much like Chris Paul. And it doesn't have to be a star.
Okay.
The Sixers just need,
Somebody can distribute the ball.
they need a point guard in the senses of a traditional true point guard. When I say that, what I mean is they need somebody that can guard the other team's point guards, basically.
Okay.
Ben Simmons is not a point guard. They made him the point guard. Ben Simmons is not a point guard because they put a wall around the basket, the Nets did. He couldn't get easy drives to the basket. If you have a point guard, your point guard knows I got to shoot my mid-range or I got to start getting more people involved.
Right.
I can't get there, back up, turn my back to the basket, and look to kick out every time. I love Ben as a player.
He do that all the time.
Ben is just not a point guard.
Yeah.
And I keep saying this, and people say, well, he's the point guard. He's running the show. He's called the point guard,
Yeah.
but he is not a point guard.
Trying to do like LeBron.
If you look at the Chicago Bulls teams that won championships, people will argue me down and people will try to debate me and say Scottie Pippen was the point guard. Au contraire, Scottie Pippen was not the point guard.
No, he wasn't.
And I understand today is the day of what they're starting to call positionless basketball. Bunch of crap to me. But on those teams, they had point guards.
Paxson, Kerr.
They had Paxson.
Kerr.
They had Steve Kerr. They had Ron Harper. They
B.J.
had
Armstrong.
Craig Hodges. They had B.J. Armstrong.
Uh-huh.
These are guys that you need,
Distributing the ball.
not so much distributing the ball. These are guys that you need to defend the other team's guards.
Right, like you said.
You can't have Ben Simmons chasing a 6'3" guard half the goddamn
He
night.
retired. He retired.
It doesn't work. Doesn't work. You get exploited because all teams do is get you in pick and roll, and they know the Sixers are going to switch on everything. They wait for the matchup they want and they attack. You gotta have a point guard with some size now because point guards now in the NBA are 6'5", 6'5" or better.
Right.
You need a point guard that knows how to play the point guard spot, that knows what to do in those situations. Oh, they won't let me drive to the basket, so I got to shoot this shot. Or I've got to get other people in better position to get these shots. So, one, come off of some of those 3-pointers. Okay? Guys are doing what they're doing. JJ, like the game that he had, shooting the way he was shooting, you got to sit him. I'm not saying just bench him completely,
After one
but
game?
you have to sit him for stretches. No, I'm not saying bench him like that. It's
Okay.
moments in the game where you have to sit him.
Right.
You have to have some type of urgency all the way across the board. Players, coaching staff, everybody has to have some type of urgency
Backup plan.
in that game. And then tonight's game, you've got to come out guns blazing. You got to come out and you got to beat this team like you know you can beat them.
Real quick, I think he's gonna, this is my opinion. He's gonna have a hell of a night tonight. JJ.
Not concerned.
I think he's gonna have a better night.
It's not.
No,
it's
JoJo's
not
going to. Yeah.
It's not about JJ. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's
Oh,
going
no.
to have a bounce
He's the
back
star.
game, of course.
JoJo gonna go.
But
He'll
it's
be a
not
monster.
about him.
Right.
It's about that whole unit.
Right.
Right now.
The five. You talking about the five?
It's
right.
about that whole unit.
Right,
I'm
right.
talking about everybody.
Right.
Players, starters, bench,
Coaches.
It's
Yeah.
about that entire
Well,
unit.
Brand in trouble if he didn't lose tonight.
It's about that
They gonna
entire
fire him.
unit.
Right.
They have everything that they need to beat this team.
It's embarrassing.
You just lay the egg,
Right.
short-term memory.
They should win 4 straight.
You gotta let it go,
Mm-hmm.
and you gotta come back tonight
Like, this is our house.
with the mindset that
Let your hat
that game is over with.
Uh-huh.
It's brand new game, brand new day. We gotta win this game. That's where their mindset has to be.
Exactly.
You can't think about anything about that game from Saturday because you can't do anything about that game from Saturday. It's going. It's in the record books. It's on video. You can watch it, whatever. But there's nothing you can do to change the outcome of that game.
They gotta play back.
All you gotta do is look forward to tonight, moving forward
Right.
into the series and handling your business.
I'm
at
watching.
home. And I think they will. Like I said, I think they will because the guys were upset.
Mm-hmm.
The guys were disturbed at the end of that game.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's one of those things where sometimes, I say a lot, sometimes you need that.
Right.
Because
Wake up call.
now it brings you back to reality unless you know, whoa, we need to play this team. It's like, it ain't going to be a cakewalk.
Right.
It's not going to be a cakewalk.
Right.
And, you know, that's where it is, and that's what has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I'm looking for a Sixers win tonight, even the series, headed back to Brooklyn, tied up 1 game apiece.
Right.
And, you know, we'll see. Like I said, again, and I think they'll still win the series, like I mentioned. I was initially saying
6.
5.
I say 6.
Now I'm going 6, possibly even 7.
I'm saying 6.
But I still think that they'll win the series and move on to the semifinals of the Eastern Conference.
Right.
Now, the final thing I want to talk about with the Sixers before we take our next break is the fact that everybody was talking about the cell phone incident with Amir Johnson and Joel Embiid. So the way it played out, if you saw, you've seen it all, I'm sure. Amir Johnson was on the bench. He checked his cell phone at some point in the game. JoJo was sitting next to him. JoJo listened to it. And, of course, people went crazy on social media. They made memes they talked about that, and in my opinion, I think it was kind of sad and kind of tasteless to talk about that when your team is in the playoffs. They just lost the playoff game at home, a game that they should not have lost, but they lost the playoff game at home, and you're focusing and making jokes about this guy on the phone. But deep down inside, in reality, I get it. It's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to have your cell phone. Amir has since been fined for that, but the gentleman was checking on his extremely ill daughter, as Joel Embiid mentioned in the post game press conference. Right. So I have no problems with that. The problem I do have though is you have to understand your business, and I get that it's your daughter. Walk into the tunnel and check your phone. Go behind the bench and check your phone. Right. You know, excuse yourself. Just don't do it right there on the bench. Like going to the restaurant. You have to know better. Right. You know, walk into the tunnel, or get one of the coaching staff, one of the security guards, or somebody. Look, listen, I need you to go check my phone, whatever, and I need you to get on that for me and check that for me because my daughter's really sick. You know, I want to get to check that out with her. Hard. So, you know, you have to get on that, and you have to check on that. I understand you have kids or whatever, but there's a way that you can do things and still conduct business as you should.
National TV.
Also, the last thing I want to say about this before I get on, and I'm going to leave this just open, and feel free to comment on social media. You know where to find me. The Sixers lost. Everybody here was in a fret, in a bubble, whatever, in a tizzy.
Right.
Nobody mentioned that the Toronto Raptors also lost their first game at home. The Spurs went into Denver and beat the Nuggets, which is called an upset. I don't really think it's an upset, but seeding-wise, it was an upset. Nobody talks about that. So I want people in the media to stop being selective and pick on certain teams when you talk about how they lost or whatever.
Right.
Be even, be fair all the way across the board because Toronto lost and Denver lost, both at home as well as the Sixers.
Yeah.
It's your boy D.
It's your boy Frank.
Like I said, keep it 100. We keep it straight.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some more basketball, some more playoffs.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk a little bit about D-Wade and Dirk since they retired and their teams are not in the playoffs. We're also going to talk about this news, the Magic Johnson, the Lakers situation.
Oh, boy.
If you haven't heard, Magic Johnson had stepped down last week. We will talk about that next. It's your boy D.
It's your boy Frank.
Sports Rap, Heat 100 Radio. We will see you on the other side in a few.
Check this out. We've come to the last and final record. This is Dr. Dre in full effect. And we're going to kick it off a little something like this. We got my mellow yellow boy on the drum. We got Stan the guitar man dropping the rhythm. We got L.A. Dre on the keyboard. And I want the whole posse in this motherfucking rock on this funky ass beat we finna drop. Yo!
You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
It's Heat 100 Radio.